even more from the National Lotteries Authority when you play for 2 times daily. Choose 4 numbers from 0 to 9 and you can win up to $5,000 with a $1 inline bet.
Makes 4 and back it up 2. That's right. There'll be lots of cash waiting for you.
Get your tickets Monday to Saturday for the Play 4 midday draw at 1:50 p.m. and the Play 4 night draw 9 p.m. So easy to play.
You'll win even more.
The National Lotteries Authority introduces the Lotto app for all Android and iPhones. Your free download available at nlasvg.com. Whether at home, work, or simply having fun, get all NLA game results at your fingertips. View all draws of the National Lotteries Authority on your handset or tablet with the user-friendly Lotto app. Download today at nlasvg.com. The Lotto app.
Channel 114. Visit you. Channel 114.
How could I forget your name? Mr. Noor. And of course, we have the chairperson of the Union Island Tourist Board in Mr. Stanton Gomes. I have all of that. Welcome, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you.
It's nice to be here. Nice to have you.
Well, it's nice to be here, and you tell me welcome. Well, you welcome us to Round Table. you welcome us to Round Table Talk, and but we welcome you to Union Island, and and we really appreciate the fact that Round Table Talk could come from out of the studio and could be done, on this beautiful little island of Union Island. We really do appreciate that.
Always a force, eh? Always a force.
Yes, and Union Island, always at the pace, right?
Yeah. This is beautiful.
Great, nice. Let's start off the program with a little bit of history of Union Island. A lot of people come to Union Island, know it's part of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but give us the historical perspective where Union Island is concerned.
Well, certainly, there was a trend of thought, a school of thought that indicated that Union Island got its name Union because of its geographical position. Some people state that when one looks between Grenada and St. Vincent, it is actually in the middle. They claim that it's 40 miles, Grenada is 40 miles to the south, and St. Vincent is 40 miles to the north, 40 nautical miles, that is. But that being said, there are different schools of thought, and you hear this all the time in history. But this has been one of the most progressive societies in the Grenadines, and this is not taken away from any of the other islands, and I have to be extremely careful here, because as the director of Grenadines Affairs, all the islands are ours, and this is the unitary state of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So I want to be clear that there's not a question of division here. But since we happen to have this program in Union, then we're talking about Union Island. We're talking about a place in which there has been a lot of resilience, in which it has come from the bowels of struggle. And there has been many challenges and difficulties that the people of Union Island have faced over the years. And I think that in itself has lent to a certain type of culture, a certain type of resilience that well, we want to go into different avenues here, so I want to keep in my lane in terms of what comes out from this island is something that is embodied in the depths of our people. This is the only island in which there was an attempted revolution in 1979. That in itself tells you something. And because there was that particular feeling that the people of these islands, and particularly Union Island, were not being given their fair due. Of course, this happens in any society and in any country or multi-island state where you have a mainland and what they used to call dependencies, because that's how they used to refer to it before. And Union Island has taken its part, and I am extremely pleased now that economic, social, and cultural development of the country as a whole has been brought to Union Island. It is now part and parcel of the embodiment, even though some may feel different, but that's for a different debate. But I mentioned something to you one time, and this I feel bears out how Union Island was and how its people were treated, and what emerged out of the struggles of a people. In that, and I want to take it personal here, in that I, as a young man at age 17, was employed at the Ministry of Agriculture as a clerk. And the first day that I walked into that office, the then executive officer, whose name I will not call, asked me, "Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Union Island, ma'am," with my two hands down on my side, with meek humility, as we would have been taught by our parents how to, because we are always a respectful society. And she says, "Oh, you are from the Keys. You could catch crab good?" And I felt two things. I felt that I could have cussed, but then I wasn't brought up that way. And then I also felt that I could have cried in front of the entire staff. This is the thought that existed at the time. And this is what propelled the people of Union Island to have that level of resilience. And there is a certain level of independence. And one would see that throughout this community. You could look at Union Island, and I don't think that there is any other island in the Grenadines that had the amount of business places like Union Island. Every every house is doing some sort of individual things with relation to the question of the generation of wealth. And that is because there is that independent spirit. And also the feeling of not having to depend on the mainstream areas for their survival and their existence, in that people from Union Island seldom go into the public service, or let me say the police service. We could check over the years the amount of people who would have done that on our fingers, and people really prefer to invest in the private sector and in themselves. You know, we've had a long history, you know, because we've had the historical aspect with the slaves and so on. I think we've had our slave population. Prior to our conversation, we probably would have had our Amerindian population also at some point in time historically, even though not well documented. And we still have evidence here of the slave trade and slaves that were here, and that some were brought by the French. And there is still also a certain element of the French, even the very names of in some places. For instance, where my good friend here, the manager of Tobago Keys, where he come from, is called Bardo, you know. And that's French, and we have also to so many places that indicate the question of estate and estate owners, because these estate owners name the areas and name their estates after their wives. So we have Miss Pay, and we have Miss Irene, and you know, and we have Miss Campbell, and that sort of thing, and it is still there. And we still have certain elements of the French society here, and we still have all the forts and them that are still here, because this place was well fortified. Of course, with the changing of hands, you know, over the years, there would have been, you know, little battles and things that were fought. We have Bloody Bay, which is a place in which there was a serious battle that had been fought by the developers and the colonizers. So Union Island in itself, and to talk about the history of Union Island will take a complete program by itself, you know what I mean? But I just want to put it in a nutshell, in that here has emerged a people based on their history and their culture. And Stanton will speak extensively on the Kongsfest and so on and thing. But I just want to add here that the Kongsfest emerges from the bowels of our people. It was not only just for the question of sustenance and survival, but it was always used as an economic base. Because in the early 50s, 60s, every ram goat boat that left mainland St. Vincent, most of them came from here. And goat and sheep on mainland St. Vincent boarded these vessels. And when they came here, then they were loaded with conchs and debi and things of that nature. They had to Trinidad for trade. And it's also something that grows so much, they use it in the tanning of leather and that sort of thing, right? But and there were so many other things, because you know, corn, peas, etc., all of that would go down for sale. And then the return trade would bring up flour, sugar, rice, and that sort of thing. And that's why many of us still have that historical tie with Trinidad, and you would hear even in the very language of our people and the accent, some people say, but Unionizer people, them Unionizers talk like Trinidadians, you know what I mean? But it was necessary to have that sort of trade, because for the very survival of our people. And the conch in itself played such a significant role that during the period of the pandemic, it was really the economic turnover that took place here. It was the stimulus, because every other aspect of economic activity was dead, you know. So I want to hug it, because I have two capable senior public servants and patriots here. You know what I mean? Why you know, I will want to weigh in on this thing.
Very rich. You mentioned a personal experience where this senior civil servant, to me that is a bit of a stigma and discrimination. that was quite some time ago. Lesroy, do you think that that kind of perspective has changed in any way? I mean, you're from a much younger.
Yeah, it has changed. Simply because of the progress our people have made over the years, even contributing to the civil service. We have seen a lot of persons from the rise to prominent positions in the civil service and occupy prominent positions and so on. And it has changed. I experienced it a little bit when I went to A-level college, where they would ask you certain things and they would refer to you as that. But it was not as widespread, it was not a big thing. We just laughed at it because we also have our name, we call people from the mainland. we use a term called Kailo.
I wanted to ask what
Kailo means.
what yeah.
And I can't answer, to be honest. But what we would say, because of the last part of the word no, you know, we say, well, you know. That's how I would say it in our time, but that word existed before our time. But we never seem to ask what it is. But it was a kind of response to being called a keys crab. So we're a keys crab, it's kind of derogatory. And then so we say, well, you guys are Kylo. But I'm not sure if Mr. Snag would have had any
Well, my take on that is that I know that and particularly in my period and time, which would have been early 60s into early 70s and so on and things, it was normally there was this regard that when people from mainland St. Vincent come to the Grenadines to work, and we had this example that took place, for instance, with Palm Island, people came from mainland St. Vincent to work, and there would be so many persons from mainland St. Vincent who would find themselves in one little room, and they say, Kylo. You understand them, Kylo. So that's another twist to it, but I think we have gone past that.
We have gone past that.
The unitary status and
there's been a lot of persons from the mainland integrated into the society and have families now. So we don't look at that aspect, because they have also come here and contributed to the development of this economy, this local economy here. So it's not that as it was. We still do have certain feelings towards not people, but more maybe like the bureaucracy and the system and that kind of thing we would have issues with. But in terms of people, we're all one, and we recognize that, because every family now may have been integrated or may be influenced by somebody that came from the mainland or somewhere. So maybe my grandfather, that's how it is now. You can't differentiate now.
Good point, and time at which to take our first break, and we'll be right back.
Play for.
Here's your chance to win even more from the National Lotteries Authority. When you play for 2 times daily, choose 4 numbers from 0 to 9, and you can win up to $5,000 with a $1 inline bet.
Makes 4 and back it up 2. That's right. There'll be lots of cash waiting for you.
Get your tickets Monday to Saturday for the Play 4 midday draw at 1:50 p.m. and the Play 4 night draw 9 p.m. So easy
Play
to play.
for, you'll win even more.
The National Lotteries Authority introduces the Lotto app for all Android and iPhones. Your free download available at nlasvg.com. Whether at home, work, or simply having fun, get all NLA game results at your fingertips. View all draws of the National Lotteries Authority on your handset or tablet with the user-friendly Lotto app. Download today at nlasvg.com. The Lotto app.
Welcome back. Mr. Snag, you spoke about some of the challenges and difficulties that people from Union Island and the Grenadines in particular have faced over the years. I want you to talk about what some of those were and also talk a little bit about the attempted coup in 1979 and how did that change the trajectory of this Grenadine island?
Well, the challenges are not, they are not unusual to, as I say, most countries in which we have, you know, a mainland and what we will call dependencies, in that you don't have the type of facilities that you will have in these small islands and states and so on, and people sometimes still live today in a sort of thing, in that you want to draw a comparison with what would take place on the mainland, and people, for instance, will draw reference to our medical service and say that oh, you know what I mean, but you can't have a operating theater, you know what I mean, on one of these Grenadine islands. I mean, it has to be a mainland, and there are certain services that one always have to access at capital city. It is the reality of the life. Mm-hmm. But then again, nobody put a gun to our head. We choose to live here. And if I choose to live here because of the serenity and peace that I have here, that I know that there are certain things that will not be available to me unless I go where it exists. We have the challenges of education, and from time immemorial, we had the period of secondary education being something where you had to go to mainland St. Vincent in order to go to secondary school, and then while you're there, you have innumerable challenges. You're going from house to house, from place to place. My parents bought a house in Rose Place to facilitate my brothers being able, you know, to have secondary education, because they were, according to what people, they was knocking from pillar to post. And you're sending your money, you're paying for the board and lodge, and then the service and the treatment is substandard. You know, that kind of way. So much so that they used to look forward to come down and catch the boat on us when it come up on a Sunday evening. So mommy to send up little food and send up little callaloo and peas, and you get a good meal on a Sunday, because during the week it's rough. There's provision and a little piece of fish on top of it. But that was the challenges. And particularly education. Herman Belma once mentioned to me that he went to write the GC, wasn't CX at the time. He went to write GC exam. And when they came off the boat in Beckway, he had to go up at high school to bring down a desk to piecemeal to write the exam. And when he bring down the desk, he had to go back up for the chair, because you can't bring the desk and the chair together. All that time, the exam taking place already. So by the time we finish, half an hour, the exam gone. You understand? I mean, this puts in a nutshell what the difficulties and how it was, right? Now, I hear the same cry being uttered, but the cry is being uttered on a different level. Students are now saying that they want to go to the community college and they have no place to stay, and the difficulty and challenges and so on. But we live in a different era. We may now be able to have to think about bringing the classes down to the Grenadines. You may now have to think about that in a technological form. You know what I mean? Rather than persons going up, that the subject areas could be dealt with virtually or whatever. That's not my expertise, but these are some of the small things. Of course, we still have the little niggling issues where some people might say, well, you still have to go a bit to get your driver's permit and thing and passport, but not really the true sense of the word, because these things could be submitted here and not returned. You know what I mean? So there is some ease in that regard, but there still are some minute challenges. Of course, if you want to see a specialist in certain areas medically, you're going to have to go to mainland St. Vincent in order to do that, you know, because you don't expect, for instance, a cardiologist to sit here in Union and wait for you to come once, you know, and that sort of thing. But I think otherwise we have done fairly well, and I think, and as a people we have made our contribution, and there has been changes, right? And there has been changes. It's not perfect. And I know it's going to take a very long while before it gets perfect, because one of the things is that when you move people from one level to another, they automatically in a state of permanent dissatisfaction. It's a human phenomenon. and you move them from point A to point B, they are not satisfied staying at point B. They will then want to move from point B to further up. So there is that continuous state. As a politician, I have seen this on numerous occasions. I don't refer to it as being ungrateful. It is not. It is just that you have lifted them to a particular point and they expect not to stay there, but to desire more, which is a natural human phenomenon, you know. But all in all, I think that we have done fairly well as a people, and, you know.
Well, fast forward to 2023.
Yeah.
Two very important projects, development projects, of course, Tobago Keys Marine Park, and of course our tourism development. Let's take in tourism development before we come to, because they're both linked. So what's happening as far as tourism development is concerned on the island?
Well, well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show, Teresa. The Union Island Tourism Board, under the new chairmanship, as I would have, I took over from Mr. Noel, who was actually the previous chairman of the tourism board. I took over in 2019, the late part of 2019. And we started looking at ways that we could improve and diversify the tourism offerings that we have here. Over the years, the tourism offering was mainly yacht-based, the yachting, servicing the yachting sector. And that, of course, is seasonal due to the weather patterns and other factors. So we started looking at ways that we could extend the tourism season, ways that we could kind of close in, what was termed the dead period, like from May right back to November. And we want persons to look at Union Island as a destination for all the things that we have to offer. We want persons to, instead of going to Barbados, especially persons locally on the mainland and the other islands, instead of going to places like Barbados for vacation, come to Union Island. And so we started a host of development in tour sites, attractions, and also festivals. And that was that thought process, that strategic plan the Kongs Festival was as a result of that drive to develop what we have and create new areas. So the Kong Festival was created because for over 50-something years, the island only had one festival, which is the Easterval, during the Easter period. Created the Kongs Festival, which is in February, this weekend, which would be the last weekend in February. And it also coincided with the heart of the peak of the tourist season. Because we never had any event catering for tourists between November right back to Easter. So we created the Kongs Festival. Of course, we have the Easter in sometimes in April, sometimes in March, based on the calendar. We have the Maroon tradition. It's not a festival like similar to Carriacou. Our neighbors have turned it into a commercial festival. And this year we'll be working with the folks that normally do the Maroon, trying to see how we could, kind of take it up a bit, take it up a notch. And so we're trying to secure funding for them to improve on what they have. And of course the Maroon is based on the big drumming, dancing, folk songs, cooking, a lot of traditional cooking. And that would be in May. And we also created the Model Boat Regatta on Independence Day, actually, in October. And that event was based on a age-old tradition of persons making model boats out of the gumbo tree, right? So we thought that it was a good idea to to create a festival around it, and also to revive it, because it was totally dead. You never used to find people building these boats anymore. So in 2020, we did the Kongs Festival and the Model Boat Regatta, and both of them were a major success. The Model Boat Regatta had people going right back to building these boats, and I think what we have to do is try to innovate on the Model Boat Regatta, because we think that a lot could be done in terms of robotics and introducing remote control model boats, which could flesh out a whole different industry for young people, and also for tourists coming in to race these boats. Because we had to look at the sustainability aspect of it. Using the gumbalimba tree is not exactly sustainable, you know.
What is the gumbalimba tree?
Yeah, the gumbalimba tree is a tree. Some people call it wild naked Indian. Normally see it peeling off the bark. It have a thin skin on the bark.
Pumpkin wood.
Yeah.
Pumpkin wood.
Yeah. So we're looking at it to see how we could innovate it and create a whole different industry from it. We're in conversation with a guy from France that do the remote control yachts, and so that could open up. Maybe we might partner with the NTRC. They do a lot of robotics training and stuff like that. But apart from creating festivals, we also start looking at the physical sites on the island. Right now, we started developing the Richmond Bay.
Okay, so you tell us what those sites are when we come back from this break, and also explain to us why a Kong Festival as opposed to fish festival or Wigo or lobster. So we'll come back in a few moments from now. Back in just
Channel 114. Channel 114.
Conch is quite a delicacy in a lot of destinations, places like Martinique, etc. Why a Union Island Conch Fest as opposed to a lobster fest or a fish fest or any other seafood fest?
Well, the creation of the Union Island Conch Festival is kind of twofold. Following up on what Mr. Snag would have mentioned about the conch trade. Recently we had, especially during COVID, we had an upsurge in persons harvesting conchs, because especially since the Argyle airport opened up, which allowed more exports in larger volumes. We had a lot of persons getting into the harvesting of conchs. And I mean, if you kind of spend some time around the guys, we call them conchsman. Conchsman is the term. You know, the conchsman is a proud person who you know, they have a different air by themselves, you know, because they earning a lot and you know, you would often, I was often seen boasting, you know. So,
But it's still a man of pool.
yeah. It's like a new generation of fishermen. So the Kongs Festival was built around that. It's like a Kongs, a fisherman holiday, as per se, and to celebrate the entire industry. But the other part of creating the festival was because we noticed that there was an absence of Kongs on the menus at the various restaurants. A lot of the restaurants don't usually prepare Kongs regularly. So we wanted to show, wanted to encourage the restaurants to kind of put Kongs on the menu. So part of the festival was a food Kongs competition, Kongs dish competition. Try and encourage a wider variety of Kongs dishes and get the chefs to start, you know, experimenting and creating new Kongs dishes. And also, the festival is also to show that, to encourage, especially Kongs fishers, to harvest the Kongs sustainably, because there wouldn't be a festival where the entire island is benefiting economically from. We won't have a festival without the actual Kong. So it's to kind of encourage them to do the right things and harvesting the right size and stuff like that.
Probably a good point to bring you in, Ms. Roy, because of course the conch would be an important component of the marine resource that you manage now. Tell us about the project and what's happening there.
Well, the Tobago Keys Marine Park, as the name says, it's the only marine protected area in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's the entire area is made up of some 66 square kilometers and includes 5 uninhabited islands and 1 inhabited island, which is the island of Mairo. And we were talking about the French influence. A lot of the islands' names is French. We have Petit Bateau, Petit Rameau, Baradal, Petit Tabac, and James Bay. So you see a lot of French in it. The park is a statutory board, and it's made up of, as I said, a board of directors, which is appointed by cabinet, that makes up of public servants, but also we have stakeholders being part of the board of directors. And the board of directors obviously make the policies and so on, and then we have a management team that runs the park. In terms of employment, the park employs over 22 persons, and that's between Union Island. Most persons are from Union Island and Mairo. That makes up the composition of the employment of the park. The park, further to that, we have, because of the population of Union Island and Mairo is over 3,000 persons, and you have about 10% of those persons directly involved in livelihood opportunities or on a livelihood from the establishment of the Tobago Keys Marine Park. For me, it's the catalyst for economic development within the Southern Grenadines. Directly or indirectly, we have so many persons benefiting from what we're doing there. The goal of the park is to protect and improve the natural resources of the park, to ensure that whatever we have there is used sustainably, so that future generations can come and enjoy it. We have been established in 1997 as a park. However, most of our enforcement started in 2006, December 2006. And we moved from, in 2006, we had like 4 employees to now having over 22 employees. We have made a lot of strides since that time. One of the things that I'm particularly proud of is that in 2020, we actually employed a marine biologist, which is a critical employee within what we're trying to do, to spearhead our monitoring and evaluation exercises within the park. Because we're managing an area, but we need to know what's happening, what's taking place with nature, how we're interacting with nature, and what is taking place with the marine life there. And And when I say proud, because that person happens to be somebody here from Union Island, and I say it's been a proud, one of the proud things that have happened. We've moved now in 2023. Well, let me go back before that. Before that, we were self-sustainable for almost 15 years until COVID came into being, and we must thank the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines for stepping in during COVID and offering subvention that took us, that managed help us to pay our operational expenses until this year when we start the recovery process. Well, late last year, early this year. Now we are back on our feet again. We are not being dependent on the government for subvention. We are actually managing our own finances, and we are managing our own operational expenditures.
How does the park make money?
We make money from park fees. We collect park fees. We have various fees. Most of it are park fees, which before 2023, it was every visitor to the park has to pay 10 EC. And that entitles them for 24 hours, valid for 24 hours, right? And you can do some calculation. The park has most of the time over 50,000 visitors per year within the park. That's not the only revenue stream for the park. We also have yacht moorings. We have mooring fields in the park, and we also have mooring fields in Clifton, Union Island, which is basically an alternative revenue stream. We also have fees for user fees, which, for example, we have dive operators who will have to pay a fee. We have the persons who conduct business there, the local water taxi operators, they have to pay a fee to operate there. It's minimal, small fees. So, for example, the water taxi fee is like 30 EC a month, which is like $1 a day. The vendors pay like 20 EC per month, because we want to encourage growth of businesses and so on. Because the fees is basically to ensure that we continue to protect the resources. So user fees are what we collect, and that's what contributes. We also do from time to time benefit from several grant opportunities. We submit proposals to help improve whatever we are doing there. We are now in the process of digitizing our park, because we're moving with the times. We have just signed off on an agreement to basically to fund that process. We have an interpretation center at the park there, and we are moving to digitize that. The process has started. And I was saying, with the fees, we have successfully implemented in January 2023, successfully implemented an increase in our user fees, which we hope would help us continue doing the good work we're doing, also because we at the Tobago Keys Marine Park have to see ourselves as good corporate citizens, and we want to make sure we can contribute to activities in Union Island and Mairo in particular, and also extend to Canawan to contribute to activities in those areas. We actually contributed to the Conch Festival. We have helped the Mairo Regatta, the Union Island Easterball, and all other projects, even the Hugh Muldock Square, and so on. So we've been making our contributions as a park here, and contributing to the development of even tourism in and around the Southern Grenadines.
How does your organization and the tourism board work together? How do you?
Well, we see ourselves. Well, we are partners. We are brothers and sisters. Actually, the tourism board is represented on the Tobago Keys board of directors. There is a representation there, and for some reason there is a representation. Well, it's not really representation, but somebody from one of our staff serves on the tourism board of the Tobago the board of the tourism board. We have been contributing towards the board a lot. They have been contributing to us also, because they bring a lot of, especially Mr. Gomes, a lot of experience, and would always him and I always sit together and we discuss a lot of things that we want to see for Union Island. I think he forgot to mention, or he may not have reached to that point. We're talking about enhancing domestic tourism. We're trying to get a lot of persons from the mainland visiting not only the Tobago Keys but visiting Union Island. There's so much to offer in these islands, and sometimes it'll be heart-wrenching when you hear a person tell you they've never been to Union Island or they've never been to Tobago Keys. People spend millions of dollars to come from all over the world, or thousands of dollars to come from all over the world to visit these gems. And we have persons from the mainland who have never set foot on these islands, and so we want to encourage that.
I always wonder about that. I mean, it's heartbreaking when somebody says, I've never been to Beckway, I've never been to Union.
Yeah,
Come on.
It is.
When we come back, we're going to talk about some of your efforts to enhance domestic tourism, because I think that's very important. And that's also key for us to understand more and learn more about each other.
Yeah.
We'll be back from a final break in just a moment.
Channel 114. Visitry. Channel 114.
Welcome back. We're going to be talking about what's happening this weekend of Kongs Fest, but before we do that, we want to talk about what are you doing to enhance the whole idea of domestic tourism. What are some of the things that you plan to initiate to help to encourage and promote that? From both of you, please.
Right, so well, I spoke about the creation of these two festivals, the Kongs Festival and the Model Boat Regatta. But this year in particular, we're also helping with the Maroon in May, which we hope would bring a lot of persons, because persons are very intrigued by this part.
So tell us a little bit more about the Maroon.
Right, so the Maroon is basically a one-day event right now. You have cooking during the day in these big traditional pot and the wood fire. You have stuff like wango, which is made from corn, rolled rice, and different meats like goat meat, chicken, local chicken, call them yard fowl, stuff like that. So during the day there's cooking where persons could come and eat for free. The whole village could come out. They usually send foods to the shut-ins and to the school. The school children normally come and get their food as well. And in the night there's the drumming, big drum, and dancing, big drum dancing and singing.
What's the cultural significance of the Maroon?
But the thought was it was a call for rain at the time, because some people refer to sometimes call it the rain dance and that kind of thing. I mean, I'm not at liberty to speak about it much, but from growing up, I knew it was a call for rain, and it has some African meaning to it. Obviously, everything that we do here, in terms of the way we dance and everything, comes from Africa, and it was a call for rain, because we suffer from severe dry weather, and in these parts, and most people think it's a time when we dance and we ask our ancestors to send the rain for us, and it works a lot of times.
I mean, it really, well, you would know that there was the Maroon tribe that were in the Blue Mountains in Jamaica, and there is the trend of thought from the historians that it's members of that maroon runaway members of that tribe that inhabited Union Island, and that hence the reason that the word maroon has still remained, and the question of our drum and our big drum dance and so on and things is integrated into the actual historical aspects of the Maroon tribe. It being called the rain dance is not by accident, because historically whenever there is the Maroon festival and the food is taken down to the ancestors and so on and thing, and drums begin to roll, Teresa himself is a drizzle. They just come. You know what I mean? And you may not get a downpour, but maybe next day or so some showers come. You understand what I mean? And there's a spiritual significance to it, and you cannot dissect your spirituality from your cultural way of life. You know what I mean? And I think that's basically it here. And it's a Thanksgiving in itself, because all food is there is no sale. There is no sale of food. It's strictly contributory and freedom in terms of giving to all and sundry.
Okay. So this is one of the events you'll be marketing.
We're supporting,
Okay.
that's the tourism board. So in June we have planned a restaurant month where the different restaurants would do the thing, and we will get more into that as the time approaches. In July, August, we're pushing for summer getaway. We're encouraging persons to come down, especially during that time when the school is out, to really experience Union. We'll be working with the hotels to see if they could drop their rates or offer a local rate. We have the model boat regatta in October. And in November we have, is usually the start of the tourist season. But we also have planned a small business conference. Because that's particularly important, because a lot of, especially during COVID, we had a lot of small businesses popping up. And one of the difficulties is that most of them are not operating, in the way that which they could access capital. A lot of them might be keeping their books properly, and all of the record keeping. They're not keeping the records that the financial institutions would want. So the small business conference would address stuff like that, and as well as marketing and stuff like that.
Okay. You were mentioning some sites that you are currently looking at. What sites are these in particular?
Well, the main one that we're doing work on now is the Richmond Bay. We're hoping to, it's funded by the Conservation Fund, SVG Conservation Fund, and I must really applaud them for coming on board with us. We're presently constructing a gazebo. We'll be putting in some more benches. Under the project, we will also have signage and support for the tourism office, computers, and also a tourist map, which is very important. Right now we don't have an individual tourist map for Union that could pinpoint all of these sites and stuff like that. So we were hoping that Richmond Bay would be, it's already sparking a lot of interest. A lot of families are now going because we installed a lot of benches and stuff. And it would be the first recreational park under the Parks and Beaches Authority systems plan, because they don't have any park under their systems plan in the Grenadines. Most of the sites you know is Warku and all of the other parks on the mainland. So this one would be the first. We're now finishing up a management plan, which is one of the requirements to apply for park status. We previously did a